Takes a little minute. We have changed the web camera setup for these committee meetings, if you see. So I think it's a great, I think it was a great suggestion to change, and Jessica had a wonderful idea to put it over there. I think when a lot of times, maybe not so much for this committee, but sometimes we have people join on Zoom, presenters and whatnot. They'll show up there, and then your backs are always turned. So this way they can see, and Bob gets to sit right next to me. Oh.
Coming too.
Oh, we can get her a chair.
So there's no safe place to sit anymore.
I know.
Gonna get a mugshot.
Let's just sit over here and. Hunker down.
Good morning.
I took the elevator, she's walking,
Oh, I didn't know our elevator was that fast.
she was still.
She's okay. We haven't even called to order yet, so we're doing great. I'm
It's
just
10 o'clock, but we'll wait just a minute.
very good, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, wow, it's green, I mean,
Isn't that nice? It's a nice addition, and now so
that's your chair.
the presenters get a little more face time on the camera. I promise I'm not contagious. Oh, me neither.
Well, with that, it's 10 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting of the Finance Administration Committee meeting to order. We have approval of the agenda. I'm not gonna go through all the items on the agenda, but is there anything that we'd like to add at this point? All right, and we'll move on and call in the public. Anybody online?
There is not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else in the audience like to speak? No. And we'll move to the first business item, which is the drain revolving fund discussion. Don't have enough money in that for all the work you need to get done.
Well, yeah, that's true, prices have, you know, the biggest thing I've seen since I've been here, the average fix-it bill was. $400-$800, now they're $1,800, $2,000, $2,500. It basically tripled, and we've cleaned up a lot of the rolls, but part of the problem is that some of these old rolls, they're carrying balances on them because they aren't heavily corrected, and we get to the assessment time of the year and crap, we can't assess that drain, so we end up carrying that balance. Get to that, and we get them worked out so we can assess them next year, but we're still, you know, there's a little bit of a balance there, but basically this is basically just our operating capital, and we run out of money usually right around this time. Sure.
Thanks. So it makes good sense to make sure you have the operational capital, because if you can't do the work, I know the public is pretty up in arms real quick. And
Well, we're to the point now where we can only work on drains that have money in the account. We can't go ahead and I can't have a guy have Star or whoever work on a drain. It's already in the hole.
Right.
We can't pay him until,
so with
Get
these
assessed.
then
funds,
when March gets here. There's a big deluge of paying up those bills, and then our balance goes back, you know. We're starting with a smaller amount. It just needs to be raised.
okay, and this then allows you to do some of those where you have drain, where you don't have drain funds available.
Right.
It allows you to do that.
Right. Every drain, this is our drain, every ledger. Every drain has an account of its own. And I don't know if you've ever-
It's all right. It's fine.
This is revolving fund is what it owes, or what it owes, right?
This is what.
This drain owns 12,000, yeah, we did a bunch of it, that owns $12,000. This one owes 15,000. That's the one that the guy was complaining about up there north of Raymond. We went in and did. Yeah. That's the one I'm on.
That's yours.
Yeah,
PV, okay.
You know, and yeah, you know, there's some of them, most of them are 2, 3, you know, there's 600, 200, you know, but there's still,
Those big ones.
it's these are
25 and
Yeah.
15 and
That
12.
one, I'll tell you where that one is. It's just north of Rose Bush. And it dumps, Denver Road, there's that creek that runs, crosses the railroad right there by, just that side of Mission.
Okay.
And then it crosses Mission Road just south of, just south of Denver. Anyway, this tile drain runs across that field towards Rose Bush. It comes back up in behind old White Wagon and up
Mhm.
there, crosses the railroad and then drains that kind of swampy area on the west side of the railroad. Well, it plugged up and Derek had to go in and basically jet it. There was nothing really wrong. It was just full of tree roots here and there, but he spent,
You're down Mhm.
yeah, and got it opened up. Well, then when you open up this, then it plugged somewhere else. So he went back and he went back and he went there 3 times and that was the total of it. And then, then it was at zero to start with, but, we gotta wait till March to get that $25,000 back. And it's something that had to be done right now. Some of these
Can't put it
things I
off.
can wait, right?
Well, in some of these smaller districts, we can't assess the whole amount
Yeah,
either.
and that's the other thing is,
Prorated
that's the
out.
other thing
Yes.
is, that was $25,000 now. I can only assess 5,000 per mile of drain per year. Well, that drain's only about 1.5 miles long, so I can only assess $10,000 to it. It's gonna take 2.5 years
Yeah,
to get that back. And that's where my balance, that's where these.
That's where all your money's tied up.
Yes.
In that time period.
Well, and right now we have like about $100,000 of bills that need to be paid.
Yep.
Before March. So they're just sitting there waiting because we don't have the revolving for it. And when we do get our revolving monies, which is gonna be. Well, this 272 for our 801 fund.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, you take
we'll
that
have to
100,000
replenish,
right off of it. that
Right.
only leaves us 100 for the next full year.
So the big question I have is, I didn't see this on here, but what is the increase you're looking for?
I'm guessing we're gonna need a couple $100,000.
what was that, 150, I think.
150 was the
150
last time, yeah.
So,
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, obviously Drain Commissioner Wilby and I have talked this through a little bit, and the way it sounded to me is that it was more like a short-term loan that the drain revolving needed immediately for the immediate need of keeping the work
Well,
going in the
right,
drain
we've got-
office.
We've got more outstanding bills right now. but-
Yes. So to the tune of a couple $100,000, the board could do a due to, due from, where they loan essentially the drain revolving that money to be paid back with, if you're getting those assessments
Wow.
back in the spring to be paid back. And I understand, Carolyn, that you weren't involved in the conversation I had with Bob, but my thought about if you permanently raise up that drain revolving and that very well may be what needs to be done. But before we do that, I'd really like to understand better what's going on with the drain revolving fund. We have the auditors on site now, and I would like to ask them to look at that to give us a recommendation of where they think, yes, our cost of materials more, or cost of labor more, is it costing you more to maintain drain? Absolutely. So does it make sense to raise it? Yes, but I think maybe taking a look at the fund, making sure that what is gonna come back to it over time at the limits, at the thresholds are gonna make that whole again. But I don't wanna just flippantly go, yes, let's just increase the drain revolving by a couple $100,000. I think we can solve the immediate need with a loan that gets booked and paid back and then if
So you.
sure, yep, we're just having a
if you
conversation.
Bump it up 200,000, that's that much more we can assess next year. So you're gonna, that's how we're going backwards. Is the bills are getting bigger and the amounts stayed the same. So if you say you bump it up, give us 200,000 more, it's just revolving. We have to recoup that money.
Does that ever come back down then after the money's recouped? If we bump it up?
When you get the our money back in March, when we get our assessment from her.
But I mean, the drain revolving money that I assume if you were to close shop, which you can't.
Right.
All the drain revolving dollars would come back to general fund balance. Maybe I'm misunderstanding that, but I would think that that's where that fund originated, I'm being told.
It's an appropriation by the board,
Sure,
originally to operate. But drains are individual units and monies that come back with drains. Other than the reimbursement of the drain fund, stay with the drain. It's my understanding.
but originally it all came from general fund, likely. I should
Well,
say like,
Possibly,
You have
but,
the,
but there's also earnings, that are there.
Yeah.
That would stay with the drain. I mean, I know how the DPR works with the delinquent tax revolving fund. So
sure.
Asking for is an operational thing that he needs to operate.
So,
You gotta have the funds, and that same situation. We've been through the tax side of it numerous times. That if I don't have enough money to pay my bills coming out, then I can't operate. So I think that's what Bob's asking for is an extension of, making his DTR or his drain fund bigger, so that he has the funds to operate.
Mhm.
yeah, it's basically my yearly working.
Yep.
Okay, now, some of these drains that are not a problem, if they've got a big man, if they've, if they've been under petition project and there's money, there's actually drawing interest. And they've,
Sure.
those drains maintain themselves. Any drain that's been redone in the last 30 or 40 years is not a problem. This is just the old drains that haven't had any work done on them since 1950, which is most of our drains. And typically they're small, where it can only assess $5,000 or $10,000 a year. For instance, I gave you was the North Branch, when we went through the whole.
Right,
thing. The North Branch, we can assess $250,000 to it every year, and it's.
Recoup your money quicker.
right.
Yeah, well, we can assess it. It doesn't cost the people in the drainage district because it's basically almost, well, it's 6 townships, but it would in total 4 townships worth of drainage. So, if I
Yeah.
assess 250,000 to it, it costs them. Remember when we did that was where I learned this, is that we assessed 250,000 for our match on that grant.
Yeah.
And it cost some of them 50 cents an acre. And George was real concerned about the whole thing, and it ended up costing George $5 an acre because the roll was so out of whack. So that's why we had that day of review, and that cost, I don't know. But it cost, the people in the drainage just had to pay for that day of review, and it was humongous. But it evened that out. So George paid, yeah, he's gonna pay a little higher because it's on the higher end of the drain, but it wasn't, 10 times more than the guys on the lower end. It's more like a third more or something.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you, in my conversations with Bob, he's really, and Carolyn too, I'm sure, has really been working hard to clean up the rolls like he's talking.
They're-
Did you tell me he's like 70 last year? Maybe that
we did-
drain rolls that
Yeah,
you,
we did that.
cleaned
Well,
up.
We did 30,
that's,
almost 40 in that one thing, and then we did 20 some more this fall. And I'm planning on doing another 20 or 30 this year. There's 400 and some drains in this county. And, well,
eye-opening.
a lot of them, we have 400 and some drain numbers. A lot of them are small projects on the same drain, and we've got to get those projects that were done and only assess part of the drain, which you don't do anymore. It was a process they did back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, where if you were only working on the lower end of the drain, then they only assess the lower end of the drain. And if you're only working on the tile section of the drain, you only assess the tile. We got to limit. So I've got a few drains that have 4 or 5 different numbers, but it's actually the same drain, parts of it. We're eliminating now going one number for everything you do on that drain. That's the big one. Getting rid of that.
So kind of clear up the air for me. Are we looking at doing a loan to temporarily get by the financial issues we have until an auditor can take a look and give a definite figure for increasing the revolving fund, or are we looking at doing a permanent? And maybe.
I think
adjusting
the answer to
every-
that is yes. I think the answer to that is yes. Obviously, the need is there. The immediate need is there to keep the office functioning and paying the bills, right? We're not gonna not pay our bills.
If
So-
you just call it a loan, we're gonna be back here next year.
Right,
That's-
right,
I don't know,
exactly.
when do we pay this
Exactly.
loan back?
Exactly.
If it's a loan, when,
Well, my understanding was that the money would be returned in March at the assessment time, but maybe it's sounding like that
Then we'll
money's
be
maybe
right
already
back.
already
yeah,
spoken.
because we,
Give us 200,000 in March, we give you 200 back, we're back to the same place we're gonna be. Right. If you do nothing.
Well, we're not
That's-
gonna do
that's-
nothing, but I think maybe you feel like a loan would be doing nothing, like it's not.
well, it would help us right now, but we're, like I
Mhm.
say, we'll be right back here. to-
Exactly, and that's
and
my
meeting
feeling,
for-
that was my feeling. That it is a Band-Aid, and do we really know? I mean, have we spreadsheeted out if we can do 5,000 a year? Have we spreadsheeted it out so we know? At what time are we recouping? That, I don't know. I don't know if the auditors will do that for, I know we can manage something like that.
I think that's my question. The way you're talking, the way I understand it is that you need this large sum of money up front to get you rolling. Okay, and then
Mhm.
over time, that total dollar amount of money that you need to operate should start to decrease, because as these
Yeah.
start getting paid off.
Getting paid off.
Right,
And-
and
and
that money,
we get,
then maybe we could reevaluate that at some point
Right.
down the road.
Right.
and Say, maybe
if we get to the point where we can eliminate these little things where we're paying. And there's always gonna be. Like the one I showed you there, where we did $25,000 worth of work to a drain that they don't assess.
Right.
We're always gonna have that.
Mhm.
But it's the drains that the roll hasn't. The roll needs to be corrected and,
Mhm.
you know, once we eliminate that problem, that will help us tremendously.
So it sounds like the
Just
roll-
get
cleaning
all
up
the,
roll.
cleaning up the rolls, getting rid of
Where-
all those.
And we need to pre-assess too, these
The other
drains that
thing
we
is I
know
can't
we work on
pre-assess.
every single year. We need to
Right.
pre-assess.
Pre-assess and get that in.
Like the revolving, and then that'll help
That's
the
the other
revolving
thing.
fund
Right.
a little better
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah.
It's
You
supposed to.
cannot pre-assess a drain that's already. That's.
Right.
That's our
Yeah.
biggest problem. Right. Is I can put all these ones with zeros at $4,000. That doesn't help any of the other drains. It
Right.
helps that drain.
Mhm.
But, and then the drain that's $25,000 in the hole, I can't pre-assess it because I'm still assessing what I did last year.
And what I'm talking about is creating a roadmap for you, so you can see
Something
how to
like-
get there, right? How to get where we're
Yeah.
talking about getting.
We can see.
Yeah, yeah. See. Mhm. So yes, that is the question. I would fully support, and it's not like I'm against you. I mean, I hope you can see that I am trying to find a solution, but I don't want to just solve the immediate problem. I want to solve a long-term problem, right? I don't want a Band-Aid. But if the need is there to increase it, and then we can be honest about working on it and taking a look at it later on and maybe lowering it if that need is there. Because understand that this is the only place this comes from really is general fund balance, and it goes away, right? When you give it to you got it. Permanent, you said it, permanent working capital.
Right, let me come back to it. At his
Exactly.
Prompting,
Mhm.
where would have. to
Well,
come
and that's the thing, if I got all these messes straightened out. We would never need that much, but what's the difference? I mean, it's just.
Because general fund
Like
needs it,
general,
that's the
it's
difference.
Revolving money, we don't need to use.
Mhm.
If we don't use it, we don't use it.
That's money we need to use.
Yes, yes.
Right,
That's kind of like,
right.
if you've got
I-
50
I-
grand you
I
don't
get
need,
you,
well,
right.
maybe we could use it on our. side.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Yep, that's what drives this. I just want to be cognizant about our dollars, so. It's really what's your pleasure?
Do you have
Commissioners.
anything else to add to the information?
I'm curious, what's the dollar column on here? What is the designated dollar? for the drain revolving.
What is it now?
What do you mean? by the
What-
definition?
what
Drain
is-
revolving fund, like, let's say
Is it this
give
here?
300,000.
Pretty
How much is already listed as your drain revolving? Was it 300,000 that you've got out already that you're collecting on, or?
Is it this, Carolyn? What he says is.
Well,
The total's around 350 or 450.
see, we had the 267,000, which was working capital,
And then
but
Rick
we,
got it increased to 150.
yeah,
So it's 307.
So you got 300 some thousand dollars out. So right now you only have what, 300 some dollars
Yeah,
in your
Yeah,
account
we're broke.
right now. But the fund really has $360,000 that's out there right now.
417. Right.
Okay.
And, you know, for the amount of work I do, that's not a lot.
No, no, not in this day. and age.
And what's the general return on the investment right now of the work that you've done? You had that all built out, that 300 some thousand built out to the places that you use that money?
It's, yes.
Assessed out.
it's not assessed out.
well, no, it's not all assessed out.
Besides the fact that I can only assess $5,000 per mile drain per year, and like I showed him, I got a drain up there with $25,000 negative balance, I can only assess 10,000.
And we have a few of those
You
that
can only
are out
assess
there.
10,000 without assessing the properties. Correct? Or, well,
Well, I can only assess it that much to that drain,
no matter how much work you've done on it.
right? Under me.
Hell of a governor, isn't
The
it?
only time you can go over that is when you petition projects, and we don't like
Well, that's what I'm
petition
saying.
projects because they don't like. paying.
We do not. Our drain,
We're trying-
our county drain at large. is Right enough, thank you.
Okay, so you've committed 300 some thousand for multiple years then.
Yes. Yeah,
That makes you shy right now.
Yeah.
and that's why he's here, I think, yes, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'd just be more comfortable seeing, that's what we're doing now, right? We're taking a look out and seeing what it does. It doesn't solve the immediate need. For sure.
So if we provide $200,000 from the fund balance, that's a permanent loss to our fund balance to the drain revolving.
Yes, sir.
If we go with a loan, there'll be some repayment back, but you're gonna be knocking at our door again because you're not gonna have enough in
Well,
the future.
if we get some problems fixed, we can help it out. I'd say, if we're not gonna end up in this bad shape next year, I can guarantee you that, but it's.
As you clean up these roads.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Yeah,
what- that's
clean
where-
these
that's
roads
where
up will
our crux of the
help
issue is
a
right now,
Mhm.
cleaning up
That's
these
what's
roads.
limited, yeah.
And time, so you get clean up the roads on time, eventually bring it all.
There's some of these
Mhm.
really small ones. That. There's a food drain. and Got a negative $208. That probably has been on there for 4 or 5 years. That's the thing, because when the assessment time, Carolyn knows, because she went through it, how many years were you the assessment person? 20 some years. You start with your bigger balance, one of you work your way down. At assessment time, those little ones with $49 on them, they don't get worried about. Cause we gotta get the bigger ones,
Sure.
to get more money back.
So we're down to the two options.
Mhm.
We certainly don't want to hamstring the drain office.
No.
Because this is important to livelihoods and property values and the like. If we go the route of the loan, we're gonna expect that we may have to
Well,
provide it again in the future. We may or may not, but the fund balance would recapture that
Mhm.
if it's able to do so. I don't know. Steve, I don't know if you have a recommendation in which way? You don't want to go
Yeah.
there, eh?
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm just curious on why, I mean, the way it looks like right now, and this is just from outside looking in. Not willing to pay the drain at large. But if you used to go a project, that's a problem, Bob, what you're saying is.
Oh, he just knows I've been complaining about the drain at large increasing so much with with those large projects on
The
the,
county's never
Large.
paid off.
Well, so what's
Right.
the difference right now?
right,
Right.
You either pay it off as drain at large, and he makes a project, or you give him the money, you know, in a situation. The general fund's not gonna have it either way.
right.
So I mean, we're just looking at the bottom line is for his operations in his office, is he going to be able to continue to operate? Or, you know, maybe he should make, I'm not saying.
But I think you're talking about different kinds of drains though, right? I mean, I feel like the county drain at large, that what we pay is on drains that are, the roles all figured out necessarily, right? It's,
It's assessed project.
yes, yes.
And he's saying.
The, what we're trying to
"Hey, we're gonna
recoup,
Try to fix this, and we're gonna do it with, revolving money. And they're still gonna assess it, but it's gonna tie up his revolving money for several years because of the dollar amount
yes.
that he can only, assess during the time, so. I mean, it's a short-term success, long-term failure, no matter, you know, how you do it. General fund's still gonna pay either at large or funding.
Just as in your other example of delinquent tax, right? If you ever don't have enough, it's gonna be general fund, so, Mhm. yeah. or borrow.
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess my thought was just. It allows us time, right, to, if we do a loan, I realize you might be back, and that's fine, we're here every 2 weeks. So
I think.
it was just allow time to look at that picture, maybe get on paper. What these look like, and maybe it's a monster with 400 drains, maybe, but half a day with an Excel sheet, I bet we could figure some stuff out as far as a plan to how some of this might start to get paid back. I feel like.
The picture. a little bit.
Right, and then if you do have to come back, we've got a clearer picture to show you, we've got more information to show what it could look like. I'm not trying to stall things or, you know,
Making life difficult.
I'm not, I just don't like throwing the Band-Aid and not looking at the detail in the long term. I think that needs to be a part of it, so. It's not gonna break my heart if you increase his working capital by 200,000 either. I long ago stopped investing myself in the outcome of these motions, so honestly, whatever you need to make your decision, commissioners.
It seems like we go the route of the loan. And we can do a spreadsheet, just like the long-term forecast, we'll have a better
I think
picture,
so.
maybe $200,000, may not be enough.
Right.
And
Oh,
give us a chance to at least
Well,
take a look at that, why you
That's the big thing,
continue.
you know, Rick had, we just had 267 and then got 150 increase. And, but the thing is, since I've been here, this is my 6th year. I sent my guys out to fix one little blowout, take 2 pieces of pipe, you know, pipe, we have an inventory of pipe. That comes and they bill. The average bill back when I first started was $600 to $800. Those bills are now
Uh.
1,800, 2,000, 2,500.
That's why,
That's the biggest.
right, that's why I see, you're between a rock and a hard place.
Right.
Your costs are going up exponentially.
Right.
Your ability to recoup the money that you're having to assess
And then my
It's
$5,000 limit is still the same.
is still the
like what was
same,
back
right?
then.
That's the thing.
You know, back then you could get a lot more work done for
Uh-huh,
$5,000.
right. So I think, you know, but you're right, Chairman, that we have a loan temporarily until we can get a better picture with a, you know, a full-blown spreadsheet showing us where we stand now, where we will be over the next 2 years, 3 years. Maybe we can see, get a little bit better picture of what we need to make permanent. Because I'm telling you, man, we're gonna have to make something permanent.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah, those costs aren't coming down.
No, the costs aren't coming down here unless we raise the assessing limit above 5,000.
And I'm
Well, and-
pretty sure that's green code.
That's-
Right.
We had 6 now where we lost 10. That is.
Somewhere.
one of the new, okay,
Something has to get
see,
in order to-
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know too, all those little amount, if they add up to anything material or not, right? Or is that just the big ones are what you go for? It's interesting to me.
So the $200,000 would be enough to get you out of the jam
Oh,
right now.
yes. Yeah.
Well, let me make a motion then. I'll move that we send to the work session a proposal to provide a $200,000 loan to the drain revolving fund from the general fund to take care of business at hand, and with the thought that we're going to look at the long-term increase in that fund in the near future.
Mhm.
Moved and
Excellent.
supported. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, it moves to the work session. I have a question before you leave. I asked this of people here before you came in, but there's a project going on the tribal near on Remus Road, near Shepherd Road. They right there by the drain crossing on Shepherd Road. They've got, it looks like they're putting in a well or something. They got a huge drilling machine. But if you go west on Remus, just beyond the seventh generation facility, they got a huge area that's being prepared for construction. They've got a big parking lot, water retention basin in there. You know what that's all about? It looked like they were taking from that disturbed area, looks like they were doing something right to the drain. And I know that drain does accept the water from the waste treatment.
Okay.
I'm looking to find out. what-
Probably just their, but they have to. We don't oversee their, if anybody else was doing that project, we would oversee, their water runoff and that sort of. But.
They have their own.
But yeah, they know, they can only put so much water in the drain, so I'm sure it's restricted. But, and they can tie into it, it's their drain too.
Okay, I don't know if we're gonna have more questions in the work session, if you could be present.
It would be helpful.
Okay.
We can Zoom.
Four, right?
Yes, that is correct. And this will be one of the first things on the agenda. There is no meeting tonight that I'm aware of.
Oh.
Next Tuesday. Work sessions next Tuesday at 4, and then regular meetings at 7. Generally, you don't ever have to attend the regular meeting. And we do still do everything on Zoom now, so if you need to join electronically, that's fine. But we're out at Commission on Aging for those still.
Next Tuesday.
Mhm.
I'm clear for the day.
Excellent. I'm sure we'll be talking before
Oh, yeah.
then.
I have two other issues I need to talk to you about. Okay. People have already called me about.
Oh.
I know you know these ones already.
Yeah,
So do you
he's familiar with
want
it.
a copy of, I should have probably gave you a copy of our fund balances so you can look at it and
Yeah. I mean,
visually see.
Yeah.
Just so you guys, the,
Carolyn, if you. wanna bring
this
up
year,
the
this
copy, I'll
weather
be here
is really,
A little bit.
Okay, yeah.
normally this time of year, we don't,
Thank you.
you sit in the office and the phone might ring once all day long. But I think that the farmers are out chisel plowing because they can.
Mhm.
I'm getting 1 or 2 a day. We got a blowout over here, just because they're farming in January. Normally,
Because they can.
You'll have an easy spring then.
Right, right. That's exactly what that means. Yeah.
Thank you for the suggestion.
Yeah, I'll bring that back up as soon as I get it.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Sneak it
much.
in here.
for that.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful day.
The next item of business is consider approving the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs lease amendment number P00003 with Isabella County commencing October 1st, 2022, and authorize the board chair to sign the same. I didn't realize we had an office for the VA.
Yeah, we have for some time up next to room 320. You've been by it 100 times probably. But right next to it is just a really small office suite in there. Doug McAllister is the veterans. I don't know if you call him a veterans officer. He's not a VSO like Ian, but he is the Veterans Readiness and Employment is what it's called, VR&E. It's always been VR&E, but recently they changed their name to the Veterans Readiness and Employment. So yes, they lease 519 square feet from us up there, have for some time. We entered a new lease in 2019, a 10-year lease with the federal VA for that space. And the first couple of years, it was set rent, I think $12.75 a square foot, and then it had 3% escalators each year on the renewal. Now, it does follow our fiscal year, so it is an October 1 lease. So the reason I'm coming so late, they actually sent us that, I think it's the last page in your packet, sent us that lease amendment and said, here, we've executed it. It's a unilateral increase in rent based on our original. So there's no need to return it. So I went, great, I'm done. And then Jessica and I talked and thought probably makes sense just to get that to the board, get it finalized, get a signature, on ours. So we've got a fully executed amendment on it. And that also made me look at general ledger to say, hey, I don't remember seeing these payments come in since October 1. So we had communicated with VA, we had agreed the rent was increasing, but we haven't received any payments starting October of 2022. So I know we were instructed not to send anything back, but I'd just like to get this hopefully agreed to, signed and sent to them in case it is causing any holdup with the payments, but they're working on it. It sounds like our payments come through the Detroit office, and it sounds like there's been a lot of turnover and staff shortages and stuff down there. So it could have just gotten caught in all of that. However, as you might imagine, the federal VA is a great renter, and I have no doubt whatsoever that we'll eventually end up with getting our rent. I know before we entered the 10-year lease, we had some settlement agreements with them on years where rent hadn't been invoiced, hadn't been paid, and we entered those settlement agreements with them, negotiated that just fine. So
Okay. So this is just a housekeeping,
it is.
gives us a little more rent.
Yes, it does, which we budget for. It's not like this is newfound rent. We do anticipate it.
Has there ever been a market study on what rental space is?
In 2019, when we did renew that lease agreement, there was some footwork done at the time to increase it. I think the 1275 was quite an increase at the time. So that was our starting point, if you will, for the 10-year.
Would you like to make the motion to move this to session?
Yeah, I think we did that. Motion to send to the board approving the USD Department of Veterans Affairs lease amendment number P 00003, which is Isabella County commencing October 1st, 2022, and authorizing the board chair to sign the form.
Support that. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Pose same sign. Move forward. We are now moving to our invoice list discussions.
There's a few of them.
I have questions on someone. Get them in order here. On the December 16th. I didn't have any questions on it. I don't know if you had a chance to review that.
Review them all. Yeah, until I get myself a little more immersed in who's who and what's what.
Mhm.
Yeah, a lot of these things are customary. We approve payments for contracts that we have and known payments that we have to make. On the December 23rd list. The only question I have is, I see we have $10,000 bill plus for administration building sewer drain repairs.
Oh, yeah.
I know we've been having some issues with the jail. I don't know if that's,
Not at all connected.
Connected.
So this is along the main street out
Okay.
here. So I'm gonna look at my notes because I don't want to get this wrong. So there was we were having some backups, right, in the sewer here. And facilities director Shoemaker put 100-foot snake through to try and get whatever was clogging it out, but apparently he found the problem was that there's the clay tiles because of the age of the building, although 50 is not old. That tree roots had invaded that clay tile and were causing these issues, right? Causing the things plug and then the backflow. So they dug up, Alval came in and dug up all of that along. You might have noticed it coming into committee meetings. It was dug up for quite a while along that west edge, and we obviously took out the clay tile. It's all PVC now, but we installed 4 clean outs out there. There's never any clean outs in that. So Steve's got 4 nice clean outs out there now to hopefully,
Hopefully this is a one.
better position us for the future. Yeah, that should definitely be a one-time expense, although that did tell us that there's lead pipes inside, which can over time create issues. We're talking sewer, not water. Don't get excited, audience. Please, but that can cause problems down the road too. So this big old building.
okay. Do you have any questions on any of the remaining? Okay. And then on the December 30th list. The only 2 things I have is, I see there's a severance pay for central dispatch. I don't know if that's appointment related, if the person should be named in there. Sometimes if it says release of employment. I don't know if it's properly listed.
Yeah, when I crossed my mind when I saw that too. I mean, that's who the check was written to. The details of it are, we haven't publicly certainly talked about, but a termination that went to
Negotiated.
yes, the project, yes, exactly. And that kept us out of arbitration. A union employee, so the cost of attorneys and arbitration far outweigh that amount there that we chose to go with. The employee signed a voluntary resignation agreement in conjunction with that, and avowed himself to no claims in the future against us. So to us, well, it was a good value, but to your point, there may be some way to keep that identity sheltered in the future, but
Just thought, I don't know, if the legal requirements are.
that's a good point.
And then integrated.
It's not a good feel, at any rate, is it? It's not a good feel regardless.
Integrated Solutions Consulting, $10,022.39 for mitigation plan project for central dispatches.
That I believe is the consultant that worked on the hazard mitigation plan for central dispatch. Do we know that for sure? The integrated solutions consulting, is that the consultants that worked on the hazard mitigation grant with Mark? Well, I see that. That's what it says here, but I guess I'm asking if that's what that is. To my mind, that's what that is. Perfect, thank you. We'll find out real quick.
Okay. And I didn't have any questions on any of the other items.
You'll see the hazard mitigation plan on your work session and regular meeting agendas, even though it wasn't on CJ committee. Mark Griffiths had asked Chair Engler of CJ to add it this morning because of a time issue. The city of Mount Pleasant is looking for some grants under the realm of hazard mitigation, but we need that county plan to be adopted in order for them to qualify for that grant. That type of thing. So you'll see that hazard mitigation plan next Tuesday.
The invoice descriptions of this invoices to reflect the work performed from May 1st, 2022 to November 30th, 2022 for the Isabella County Hazard Mitigation.
Perfect,
That is their work, all that.
perfect.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Perfect.
Then moving on to the January 5th, I see that there's almost a $25,000 payment made for refrigeration and mechanical services for the trial court building, north end roof unit.
Yeah, that was a capital expense that we had budgeted for and facilities went out for bids on rooftop units.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, brand new, yeah. And so we should applaud him maybe because it looks like he's roughly $67-ish under budget. If
67.
he was sheriff, he would ask for that money for something else, so. Congrats.
Don't speak too soon.
Phone to ring.
And the last one, I'm thinking Steve can probably answer this. Union Township, $10,339.35. December border review 2021. So is that the border
Personal
review-
property.
Review reduces property taxes and
We gotta pay it out.
Mhm.
As we talked many times before, a lot of these apartment buildings are taking it to the tribunal and they're reducing their assessed values. So what we have to do is we have to pay out the differences and stuff until that gets settled. We collect back, we collect from the units, a lot of stuff, but I believe that's. what that?
This is personal property tax.
I believe that the township discovered that they had to make a correction on.
It's a big reduction.
Because it affected, we had to pay back medical care, then parts, COA, then county, SET, all of those, we went back at least that one check. That's the one.
okay. I don't have any other questions on that list. You, Chris? We don't need a motion on that. We just discussion. We're to the point of announcements. Don't have anything. Anything else?
Sir.
And then we'll do another call to the public. So nobody online?
There is still no one online at this
Never
time,
is.
Mr. Chairman. They're out there in YouTube land. I know it. I know they're watching us on
I have
YouTube.
a lot of fans. I'm surprised that they're not on.
With that, I'll adjourn the meeting of the Finance and Administration Committee meeting. Thanks, everyone, for attending.
Thank you. Great meeting, Chairman.